What is up, everyone? Welcome day 14 of Sketchbook Challenge. We are done. Final day. Talk about 3 lessons I learned from the Sketchbook Challenge while you watch day 14. Day 14, more compositions, just having fun in the sketchbook, drawing out ideas. And that's what you'll be watching while I talk about the topic of the day, which is the 3 lessons from the Sketchbook Challenge. 3 big lessons. Hopefully I can hold on to these 3 lessons because I think they're extremely important. I think they'll make me more creative. I think they are extremely useful if I can actually apply them to my regular day-to-day creative activities. So lesson number 1 is to loosen up. There is such thing as trying too hard. And this is something that has been kind of hard to accept, is that when it comes to being creative, if you want to be a creative person, just trying hard isn't the way to go. And I think this is very true if you listen to like musicians, where sometimes the best songs will just come into their heads. You know, the best song will be made within a couple of hours. And that's kind of a crazy thing to think about, that you can work on something for many, many hours. You can work on a song for 50 hours. But the best song comes out in 2 hours. And that's not saying that you can just be lazy and wait around for things to happen. You obviously have to be actively making stuff. But while you're making stuff, you have to be loose. You have to be able to be open to new ideas, try new things. And if you're trying too hard to do something that's very specific, like if you have your expectations and they tighten you up and make you really strict with your creativity, then you might not explore things that would be way better than the thing that you're aiming for. Like you could really, really limit your abilities to create new things if you hold on to your expectations too tightly. And that's what I've realized with the Sketchbook Challenge. Every few days, I would come up with something new that I could do that I haven't tried before. And what that lets me know is that I haven't experimented enough. If all these options were always there and I just haven't left the room for them to show themselves, then I've been holding on way too tight to my expectations. I haven't been leaving enough looseness and open room for creativity to flow. So I need to make sure that I loosen up, be a little bit more relaxed. I think part of the problem is also like the financial stress of trying to be a creative full time. So I'm going to try to take away that stress by focusing more on art education and try to live off art education instead of living off personal art. And I think that will probably help me be a little bit more loose and have less expectations if I can just have fun with my art and make my money elsewhere. Even though it's kind of like adjacent, the two will help each other, but at least if I keep the two separate, maybe it'll allow me to be more loose. So that's lesson number 1, loosen up. And I need to make sure I don't try too hard. Like if you're an anxious person, if you're someone who's like a perfectionist, it can be really easy to hold on to expectations that won't help you as a creative person. And that's a really hard thing to swallow. So that's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 kind of goes hand in hand with the lesson number 1, and that's to schedule time to experiment. So if I want myself to be loose on a regular basis and want to loosen up, I definitely have to have scheduled time where I have no expectations, allow myself to doodle and just play around. I need scheduled time to be within a sandbox where nothing matters. You know, at the end of the night, water comes in and destroys whatever I make. You know, I need to have the type of mentality where the permanence of it or the long-term goals don't get in the way. And the only way I can really create that space is by scheduling it. I can't expect myself to just create open room to be loose without actually putting it in my schedule and making sure that I take half an hour to 2 hours a day to just doodle around, have fun. I'm thinking that I'm going to do this in the evening where I can listen to a podcast and be relaxed and just doodle around, see what comes out and not put too much pressure on it. Scheduling time, because I live by a schedule right now. Like I really need to stick to a schedule. It's the only way I'll be able to stay productive, or at least stay as productive as I want to stay. So scheduling time to be loose, to have fun is lesson number 2. I know lesson 1 and 2 kind of go hand in hand, but they're definitely 2 different things. Staying loose is really important, and actually scheduling time to be loose is also extremely important. So that's lesson number 2. For lesson number 3 is to be okay with making mistakes. So this whole thing kind of blends itself together. Being okay with making mistakes is something that is really important if you want to do creative work, because if you don't allow yourself to make mistakes and you hold on to regrets, like if you make a bad drawing and you feel that pain and you feel it too strongly, that means that you won't allow yourself to step out into the chaos and really try to experiment with new things. Like if you let your ego get in the way, if you let your ideas of what you should be, then you just won't be able to make the type of work that will be truly new or creative, right? Like if you're always holding on to expectations, what will happen is you'll latch on to someone who's already successful, or maybe you'll latch onto ideas that have been done before, or ideas that are too easy, you know, maybe too generic, and then you hold on to it because you know that it's safe, but it's lacking in newness. It's not you. It lacks you within it, right? So if it's something that's been done a million times and you want to play it safe, well, by playing it safe, you won't find something unique and you won't allow yourself the room to put yourself into it. The only way you'll be able to put yourself into it is by allowing yourself to make mistakes. So being okay with making mistakes is step number one. So I need to be okay with making mistakes, gotta let go of expectations. And this all comes together to say that I just need to be more open, be more creative. I think I've been holding too tightly onto an ideal of what art should be. And I've been comparing myself to this made up ideal that doesn't exist. You know, the ideal is just in my head. And it's not something concrete, right? It's not something like concrete that I can actually compare myself to. It's just a way for me to try to play safe, to try to feel like I'm in control. But realistically speaking, you're not in control. If you're a creative person, really, it's just about catching the right ideas at the right times, putting in the work to find new things and be excited about the work. But there really isn't, you aren't in control of the ideas that pop into your head. You know, all of life is that way. It's not just being creative. All of life is, you know, we're spinning on this rock that's spinning around an explosion, essentially. You know, the sun is an explosion. So all this comes together to say that you're not really in control, and letting go of the need to be in control is the only real way to create great work. And that's the conclusion I've come to with this 14-day challenge, is that I need to be able to relinquish control in certain areas. You know, I can schedule in time to make art. That's really important. Scheduling time to put in work, to put in time, because you need to put in time. But relinquishing control in terms of what creative ideas come into your head, and relinquishing control in terms of how many ideas you come up with and all the creative stuff, just being able to let go of your ideas and be letting go of your ideals, you know, your expectations of what the work should look like. Just letting go of all that stuff is really the key to be more creative. This is what the conclusion I've come to after this 14 days challenge. I kept trying to come up with new narratives of what my art should be and this and that. I think I just now need to let go, just give up in some ways, just give up the expectations and just put in work and just see what comes, you know, take it one day at a time instead of trying to solve for this grand story of what an artist should be and this and that. I just don't think it's useful. I think it's a lie. And that's it. That's what I've learned from this 14-day challenge. It's just to let go. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for checking this out. This was the last day of the Sketchbook Challenge. If you want to watch from day 1 to day 14, the playlist will be in the description. You can check that out. Also, my acrylic painting courses are going up on the site. You can go check it out. I'll link it in the description. I highly recommend you check out the cloud painting course, because painting clouds is super fun. It gives you the opportunity to play with a lot of colors. And if you haven't done a lot of painting recently and you want to get into it, it's a great way to get into painting. It allows for a lot of color mixing and playing around. It's not as difficult in terms of structure, so you can play around a lot. It's a great opportunity to get into painting. If you're interested in that, that will also be linked in the description. I thank you so much for checking this out. If this was of value to you, feel free to subscribe and like. If you really hated this and this video was terrible, send it to an enemy. Waste your enemy's time. That's also a great way to spread some hatred if you really hated this. I'll see you guys in the next one. In the next videos, we'll get into some painting stuff. So that's exciting. Now that we're done this 14-day sketchbook challenge, we can get into some painting stuff. And hopefully I'll learn some English by the time I record this next video. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.